Hey guys, welcome again to this new video. Zubuli here again, and welcome to my YouTube channel Vanilla Engineer. Today we are going to discuss something very interesting and very subtle in the field of web development, or in general in the field of software development, the difference between a web application and a website. So before we continue, kindly consider sharing this video with your friends who are interested in this, or your partners in business who might need to know what is the difference between these things, so that when you are dealing with developers, it will be easy for you to use the right terms. So also consider subscribing to the YouTube channel if you haven't done that. So let's get started. So recently I was kind of sitting down and thinking, what is actually the difference between a web app and a website? And then I decided to Google it. When I Googled, I got about 6 billion plus results on this same topic. So if I assume YouTube actually chose website as a different keyword, web app as a different keyword, and then difference between them also as different keywords, so probably the result we can split it to some, let's say, billions still for this question. So it means it's an interesting question, it's an important question that people are still asking themselves day by day. So what is it actually? What is the difference between a web app and a website? So this is it. In general, most people think these two things are the same. A website and a web app. When you look at these two terms, there is one thing they have in common, which is the web. And then the differences are, one is a site, the other one is an application. So I think what makes it interesting is that application aspect. A site, a website, we are used to that. We know you type a domain name, you have pages, you browse, and so on and so forth. So what that application aspect is, what is it, what makes it so special? So the thing is, before we understand that, I would like to take you back a little bit. So in the history, when computers were coming up, when people started creating computers, it was mainly a geeky work. It was something that was done by geeks. People are very good in electronics and so on and so forth. And as computers became common tool that most normal people can kind of venture into, they needed this application, this software. So these programs, right? Programs needed to run these computers, and these programs were called system programs, right? System programs. So a system to boot, a system to print, a system to, scan, and so on and so forth. So these programs were written in order to run computers. So over time, as computers start to become interesting, as computers start to become like fascinating for people, people started to think, wow, so what can this thing be used for? And this is the key part. What can this kind of things be used for? It's simply like you discovering a chemical component, or you discovering a mathematical formula, and you actually ask yourself, what could be the application of such formula or such chemical? What could be the application? Which means, what could be the actual real use of such application, such material or such formula? In reality, how can we use it? How can we apply it? So that's the actual etymological meaning of the word application. So web application is actually an application software. So it is a software in the first position, but used to apply to something. So back to the story is, people started to wonder, how can we apply, how can we use these computers for real life? How can they use it? So to answer this question, application software started being created. So a software that can make the computer useful for a human being, useful for reality. So for example, if you are a tailor, how could a computer be useful for you? if you are a typist or a secretary by then, how could a computer be useful for you? So that's how application software started being created. But the thing is, then they were created using operating system components. So for example, if you are running Windows, you needed special environment on Windows to be able to create such applications on the Windows. If you were on Linux, you needed special environment to be able to create such applications on Linux. So and so on and so forth. As time goes, we started being software developers as we are. So we create software, we create applications, right? So as time goes, the web got born. And when the web was born, it was mainly for websites. So HTML, and then JavaScript came in, CSS, JavaScript, and so on. So as time goes, people started to realize that these tools could also be used to achieve similar things that were done using operating system environment to create application software, right? So people started tinkling with this kind of tools to come up with applications. So instead of using website tools used to create a website, people started tinkling with using tools set to create a website to create applications in general. So that's how over time the browser developers started to realize, wow, the browser could be a good environment not only for websites but also to build applications. So they started implementing possible features that could make it as easy and as sophisticated, as much as stable as possible it could be, to be able to build any sort of application. So that is how we started getting web applications, because web browsers are used for the web. So an application built using the web technologies and usually saved on the web. That's where you see most people make the mistake and tell you that a website is a simple set of pages that you can browse and then you don't interact with. I think this is a very big mistake, because they actually take away the real value of a website. A website, there's no standard that defines a website as simply static website, static pages that you just interact with and you just read and then you cannot interact with. This is wrong, because remember, we have what we call static websites and dynamic website. A dynamic website can still allow a user to input data, interact with data, fetch data, and do so much with the application, with the website, without being a web application. A web application, in the other side, is not only a website, definitely, because it has to be a website, because it's something built using web tools, saved on the web, and using the web browser. So it is definitely a website, but the particularity of a web application is mainly complex and usually solves a problem that most applications used to do in the olden time. For example, when you take Google Sheet, which is an application, but it is served using the web. It is not simply a website, but it is something that solves a real challenge. It is an application. Okay, it is an application. We are applying a software to a field, to a need. The same thing when you take Gmail. It is an application because it's mainly to serve a need, to solve a challenge, right? So you have this kind of software that are very, very complex. So that's how you have web applications. They are meant for a purpose. They are meant to solve a challenge in life. So basically, that's what I can tell you about the difference between a web application and a website. Please don't be confused again, and see you on the next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends so that the knowledge can go far. Thank you so much.